How's it going, everybody? My name is John, and welcome back to the Raw review. Today, we're going to be talking about Raw from February 2nd, following the Royal Rumble 2025, which, if you guys haven't seen, I finally, after 119 days of Michaela having it, have regained my JME World Championship. And obviously, it's the Winged Eagle, but we know what we're talking about. And I thought it was a very crazy show, and this Raw definitely showed that. There's a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. The show opened up with our 2025 Men's Royal Rumble winner, Jey Uso, which has definitely stirred a lot of controversy. But he came out with a quite impassioned promo. From somebody like me who enjoyed watching Jey Uso as main event Jey Uso before the Yeet thing, to be honest, I think he was more enjoyable before he came kind of a mascot, a catchphrase machine. But I thought this promo was a good return to classic Jey Uso. He did do a very elongated entrance with the Yeet thing, as he did an encore for the Yeet, which I thought was pretty well deserved after the Royal Rumble win, while I do understand why it can upset others. But Jey Uso, during the actual promo, ran down his entire career, the journey that he's took to make it to this position. And to hear that promo and that argue against Jey Uso, it's like, well, I can't really go against his argument. The guy has been a veteran. He's been grinding in the tag division. It's about time that we give him a chance. And I'm a little bit more optimistic thinking about Jey Uso than I was the actual night, because I was heavily pulling for either John Cena to win the Rumble and have another great WrestleMania main event, but he could still win the Chamber. And then the pick that I actually had for the Rumble was CM Punk. Now, I don't know when CM Punk will get his WrestleMania main event, but I'm sure it will come. Right now, Jey is red hot. So for me, the decision is warranted, but it could be a disaster or something great. We have to kind of wait and see. As per Jey being the Royal Rumble winner and the fact that he had a match against the World Heavyweight Champion Gunther last week on Saturday night's main event, well, Gunther came out and interrupted him and said, Jey, if you choose me, I will make your life a living hell. You will not be able to rest until WrestleMania, and once we get there, I'm going to put you down like a deceased dog. I think that was one of the best promos that Gunther's cut in a while, and it adds more depth to the psychology of Gunther's character, because you could look at that from two angles. He did just beat Jey Uso last Saturday, so he could be telling the truth, but he could also be manipulating Jey Uso. Like, man, that match was kind of close last week, and maybe I don't want to face this guy again at WrestleMania after seeing what he can do in the Rumble. Jey then ended the segment by saying, Gunther, I hear you. You know what? I'm going to go holler at Cody on Friday on SmackDown, but I promise you, no matter who I pick at WrestleMania, I will become the champion and win. Which, in my opinion, that line that Jey delivered at the end was a little bit shaky. It was a little bit like, kind of cringe. But I do think the segment was overall effective. I do have faith in Jey Uso being the Royal Rumble winner more after this segment than as before, because, as I mentioned, I don't want to see a catchphrase machine main event WrestleMania. I don't want to see a mascot main event WrestleMania. I want to see the character Jey Uso, who was abused by the bloodline and has been grinding years and years on the tag division, is finally getting his chance, and he's not going to pass it up. Next, we had Penta continuing his undefeated streak as he rose to 3-0, picking up a win over the person he eliminated in the Royal Rumble, Ludwig Kaiser, who was eliminated in 6 whole seconds at the Royal Rumble. I'd imagine some people are upset about this because Ludwig is great. He is pretty damn great. But I don't think that buried him. I think it fits his character. He's a young guy. Got to give him some time. Got to pay his dues. There was a spot early in the match where Penta threw Ludwig over the top rope to kind of pay homage to the fact he got eliminated. Ludwig got pissed off and responded with a Death Valley driver on the apron, which was absolutely nuts. Penta just absolutely continues to shine once again with his entrance that just looks so badass, cooler than anybody else on the roster right now. And he had this moment during the match where Ludwig was hitting him and Penta just started riling up and getting it. And I don't know exactly what he says. I don't want it to come across as offensive to anybody, but when he does this catchphrase where he's like, San Nero, somebody will have to let me know in the comments what that means in English and what exactly he's saying. But for me, Penta shined in this match. Great match to put him to 3-0. I'm really enjoying his run so far. I did almost forget to mention that Jackie Redmond came out to the ring and tried to conduct an interview with Penta, but right before Penta said anything, you had Pete Dunne's music hit, and Pete Dunne started walking his way to the ring. And if you remember last week, Pete Dunne and Ludwig kind of had a conversation where it's like, hey, maybe we'll team up. And Ludwig attacked Penta from behind and walked out, giving Pete Dunne a stare as he walked out. Like they had some uneasy truce. Like, okay, you know, I see that you're willing to play ball with me. So we'll have to see where this continues. I'd imagine it's going to be some feud between Penta and possibly somebody else versus Ludwig and Pete Dunne. We then cut backstage to the Judgment Day locker room as Finn Balor walks in after missing last week and says, "Hey Dom, what the hell? You took my tag match and not only did you lose it, losing me my tag team title opportunity, but my partner, JD McDonough, is injured after a stellar performance last week. If you haven't seen it, go and see it." But then Liv Morgan actually steps in and defends Dominic Mysterio. Maybe he's earned himself back in the good graces. Or maybe it's Liv Morgan being manipulative. These are the ways that I like the segments because you don't know which way it's going to go. Liv says Dom had to take your place last week. Otherwise, Pierce would have passed on the opportunity to a different tag team. So the least we can do is send somebody out there. And then also, Dominic tried to make it up to you by getting you your qualifying match in the Elimination Chamber, which Balor was like, really? And Dominic's like, yeah, because we're family. And I think this is a good segment. Liv also followed it up by saying, and from now on, we are going to be listening to you, but there's still some tension in the Judgment Day. I feel like we kind of have the one camp with JD McDonough and Finn Balor, and then you have the other camp with all the other members of the Judgment Day. So I feel like we're going to see a major split/fraction there in the faction, and it's pretty interesting stuff. The winner of the Women's Royal Rumble followed, which was Charlotte Flair, who came out and I believe tried to be a face, but the crowd absolutely rejected it. And Charlotte Flair ended up cutting a really good heel promo. I think she handled the crowd perfectly and played it really well, that it built her character as this narcissistic heel, which I feel like is going to be Charlotte's forever gimmick. As Charlotte's talking about who she's going to challenge at Mania, Rhea Ripley comes out and interrupts Charlotte Flair, which I believe we're kind of following the same formula as Jey Uso winning the Rumble, where Charlotte Flair ended the segment saying, well, I am going to go talk to Tiffany next week on Friday. And to be honest, I think we're going to get Jey Uso versus kind of heelish Cody Rhodes. And then I think we're going to get Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton. All this stuff on this Raw between the Rumble winner and the champions is just to kind of raise the suspense, as in, who are they going to challenge? Like, as we don't know yet. Rhea comes out and says that she respects Charlotte and that if she chooses her at Mania, well, the same thing's going to happen as the last time they met at Mania, which was 39, where Rhea Ripley pinned Charlotte dominantly. Charlotte retorts by saying, well, I remember the last time we met at WrestleMania, which I want to say was either 33 or 34. Somebody will correct me if I am wrong. And I beat you then. So we're even at WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley says, I was just a kid then. And something that Charlotte said in the promo, I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was disrespectful. She said that she still sees Rhea as a kid. That's what she said. Is that like, oh, you jumped the gun? I haven't even picked who I'm going to face yet, but you're assuming I'm going to face you. That shows me that you're still a kid. Rhea said, well, you still seeing me as a kid shows me that the respect that I give you is clearly not returned. So face me at WrestleMania and I will destroy you again to fully earn your respect. I think it was a good segment to tease Charlotte and Rhea, but I don't think anybody wants to see that. Everybody wants to see the battle of the blondes between Tiffany and Charlotte. But I do think this was a good teaser segment. It would make sense for them to have the tiebreaker at WrestleMania, but I think it's a little bit too soon to Mania 39. We need to wait longer for this. Tiffany versus Charlotte is definitely the way to go. We then had Sami Zayn backstage, and this was the first time that I noticed that the footage on Netflix was really messing up, which at first, yes, like most people, I thought could be some sort of Wyatt 6 messaging. But after a while, it started to happen in the matches, and it took away from the broadcast. So let's quickly put the blast on Netflix and talk about that. So Netflix did fuck up this show monumentally. It glitched out through about half of the show and almost made it unwatchable near the end. Thankfully, it didn't stick around fully or consistently for any given point, and I was still able to enjoy the show pretty thoroughly. And I'm willing to give Netflix the benefit of the doubt here. They didn't mess up the first week's broadcast, which I'd imagine had the most people that Raw will have in a long time. They didn't mess up the week after that. They didn't mess up the week after that. We finally have the 4th week of Raw on Netflix, and they messed up a stream a little bit. It didn't make it unwatchable. So let's just hope that Netflix cleans it up. We're going to hold them accountable. I'm willing to shit on a multi-billion-dollar organization as much as the next guy. Screw Netflix. But I am willing to give them the benefit of the doubt right now. Hopefully they keep it clean. But as I was saying, we had Sami Zayn backstage who ran into Jey Uso, who Sammy gave Jey Uso a hug, said congratulations. I'm not mad at you for what happened in the Royal Rumble. I'm just happy that somebody who deserved it won. As Sami Zayn was walking away, he ran into Karrion Kross again as this angle just keeps getting more interesting and interesting. Karrion Kross says, Sami Zayn, look at you going around giving out free hugs. You're not getting nothing for yourself. Sami Zayn's a little bit more fed up right now. He just had this crazy shit happen. He watches best friend and his other friend, Cody Rhodes, almost get murdered in the Royal Rumble. I don't know if I could say murdered on YouTube, but I just said it twice, so I don't care. But he just watched this all happen, and he lost the Royal Rumble that he was very passionate about to win. So he says, Karrion Kross, leave me alone. And if you don't leave me alone, this is going to turn into a problem. Karrion Kross says, really? I haven't been trying to be a problem for you yet, but I certainly can be. I think this is one of the most interesting segments on Raw, coming from somebody who's not a huge Karrion Kross fan. This way that he seems to be turning people heel is an interesting gimmick nonetheless, and I'm excited to see where they go with it. The New Day was next on the show as they came out to have a match against Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, and they came out with a new theme, new attire, a completely new look, which I think served them very well. Let me know what you thought in the New Day's new look and their new theme in the comments below. I think it's worth it to change up their theme, considering that they're clearly different characters than they were before. Almost, it feels like a different stable without Big E, so it makes sense that they would change it, but I'm willing to hear some feedback. New Day starts off the match with some hot, innovative, heelish tag team offense to show you that they are still one of the greatest tag teams of all time. As the match was starting to pick up though, Logan Paul comes out. Logan Paul coming out allowed the New Day to completely get the upper hand on Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. They just took over the tag match from this point, which did eventually result in a New Day victory. There was this amazing Hurricane Rana that Woods took from the apron to the bottom, which he was still selling after the match. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that would hurt your damn back. And god damn, he fell hard. Michael Cole also had a great call after Logan Paul came out where he said, why are all WWE superstars from Cleveland jerks? And he pointed out The Miz, Logan Paul, and some other individuals on the roster. And I thought that was a great call by Michael Cole to sum up what was a fun, entertaining match that I think did a good job cementing the New Day as, look, they're new, they're innovating, and they are the team on the scene to be watching. Following that, we had CM Punk backstage, who does his weekly interview with Jackie Redmond, his best friend, and says, the bright side of me not winning the Royal Rumble is that at least Roman and Seth didn't either. He said that he's going to beat Sami Zayn later, so he has other things to worry about. And let's quickly talk about the possibility of Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk in WrestleMania, possibly a main event caliber match. For me, I don't want to see this. I want to see Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, and we could put CM Punk somewhere else. Maybe he can win the chamber. Maybe it'll be CM Punk versus Gunther and Jey Uso versus Cody Rhodes, or maybe it'll be CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus Gunther. I don't know. But for me, CM Punk doesn't need to be involved in this triple threat match where the blood in between it is clearly between Roman and Seth after Seth absolutely crushed Roman's head against the floor and then crushed it again against the steel steps, which we'll come back to a little bit later. But for me, Roman and Seth is the match I want. Punk needs to be somewhere else. One of the two Elimination Chamber qualifying matches that we were having on Raw followed as we had Iyo Sky and Liv Morgan in a rematch from a match that happened a few months ago. Before the match, Iyo ran into Rhea Ripley and said, maybe I'll see you at WrestleMania, hinting that she would win that chamber qualifying match and make it there. But we're going to see that things didn't exactly work out to Iyo Sky's plan. And let's just talk about, before we get to the result, how great this match was. Iyo Sky and Liv Morgan have amazing chemistry. I thought the match that she had with Iyo was the best match of her title reign because she wasn't allowed to wrestle that much. She was constantly waiting on Rhea Ripley to come back. So I do hope we see Liv Morgan with the championship again at some point, where she can have these consistent bang, 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 bang matches against people like Iyo Sky. Iyo Sky shined in this match, especially a spot where she hit a devastating missile springboard dropkick that connected just perfectly on Morgan. Looked absolutely devastating. Iyo had another great spot where she reversed, I believe, a German suplex, or reversed something that Liv was doing into a German suplex. Liv rolled out of the ring, which Iyo Sky then followed up with a moonsault off the apron onto Morgan, which was all just effective offense, fast-paced match. Liv hit a big code breaker as Iyo Sky jumped from the top rope. Liv eventually had her mouth busted open. This match was just all over the place. Probably the best match on Raw, maybe competing with the other elimination qualifying match later on, but this was the highlight of Raw for me. Eventually, we did get to the finish of the match, which involved Rhea Ripley coming out after Raquel Rodriguez, who was out there the whole time, interfered in the match multiple times. Rhea Ripley tried to help out Iyo Sky as they have a little bit of a friendship, and Rhea Ripley definitely still doesn't like Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. And as she was helping out, taking care of Raquel, Liv Morgan got involved, and Rhea Ripley clocked Liv Morgan in the face. And right as she did it, she realized that she just cost Iyo Sky the spot in the Elimination Chamber, as Liv Morgan's going to advance to the match now via disqualification victory. Iyo Sky was pretty incensed after the fact. Rhea Ripley tried to talk to her, and Iyo Sky was just kind of like, get away from me. She's probably going to come back next week and say that it was just her being a little bit emotional. I do think that Iyo Sky versus Rhea Ripley is the route for WrestleMania. I think Iyo Sky getting that victory over Rhea Ripley on that platform would be great for her. I think WWE has been building her throughout the year. I always remember the one pinfall victory she had over Bianca Belair a few months ago. Great performance in the Rumble. She's going to show out in the Chamber, possibly win the Chamber. Now, you might be thinking, she just lost the qualifying match. Well, I think Iyo Sky will still find a way into the Chamber, because otherwise there's no way for her to face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. There's 6 spots in that Chamber. I believe Liv Morgan's the first one, so we still have a lot of room in there. Kathy Kelly was then backstage with the War Raiders as they were explaining that they gained a lot of respect for JD McDonough last week for wrestling through with the injury. And as they were talking, American Made, and more specifically Chad Gable, started interrupting them and said, you guys aren't championship material, especially after injuring a stud like JD McDooge or whatever he said, which was great. The War Raiders said, you boys want to come and take these tag team championships away from us? Be our guests. Come and try. The War Raiders then walked off as Chad Gable said, I'm going to go away for a couple weeks to train with this mysterious person that Dominic Mysterio suggested that could help me with the Luchadors. I want to see American Made get some real success while I'm gone. I want to see them with the IC Championship. I want to see you with the Tag Championships. Do this while I'm gone or I will be disappointed. I don't think American Made's going to pull both of those things off, so Chad will be disappointed, so we'll get to see where it goes from there. Chad Gable, incredibly entertaining. Sad he's going to be gone for a couple weeks, but very excited to see where it goes. Think the payoff's going to be worth it. Adam Pearce was then backstage as he announced that the returning at the Rumble AJ Styles, with his old theme, might I add, no player want none, is returning to Raw and will be on Raw as a mainstay. Braun Breaker then interrupted Adam Pearce as him and Adam Pearce continue to have this feud that they have going on. As he says, I don't think you're really caring about the IC Championship. You're more concerned about AJ Styles, who if you fed him to me, I'd kill him. So why don't we go talk backstage about how important the IC Championship is to you? And Adam Pearce then said, okay, I don't know who he was backstage with, but he said, okay, I got to go and talk to Braun Breaker. So we're probably going to see some new interesting stuff with the IC Championship. Seth Rollins then came out for what turned out to be a very interesting promo as he started it off by calling out CM Punk. Like, look at you. You said you were going to win the Rumble, and then you got eliminated by Logan Paul, of all people, which was really just Seth Rollins being salty that CM Punk was the one that threw him out. He then talked about Roman Reigns, and he says, Paul Heyman isn't going to tell you this. Roman Reigns isn't going to tell you this, but I know because I'm the one who did it that he's hurt. And Rollins was just clearly stemming the seeds that he was happy as hell that he took out Roman Reigns. And I feel like this has more fuel on the fire than Punk and Rollins does. I truthfully do. Seth then eventually called Sami Zayn to the ring, who was about to have Seth then called Sami Zayn to the ring, who was about to have an elimination qualifying match with CM Punk. He said, Sammy, can you come out a few minutes earlier? And Seth Rollins, a little bit heelish, a little bit tweener, I believe was manipulating Sami Zayn, trying to rile him up and get him rallied up to beat CM Punk. I know you don't like CM Punk either, so you're going to beat CM Punk. It's almost like Seth Rollins wanted it to do it for him. CM Punk then came out as Seth Rollins was leaving the arena, and they did trade some hands. These guys definitely still don't like each other. And as Punk was walking down and Seth was walking out, they got a little bit tangled up like two cats in a tree. We then got into the match, which started off with some good, clean back and forth wrestling. As Punk let Sammy up, though, Sammy slapped CM Punk, and from there, that's when the match devolved. Punk continued to work over the arm, which was one major spot where he had Sammy's arm yanked. Punk eventually got hit by a tornado DDT where Sammy couldn't roll Punk over into the pin because of the earlier work that he did on his arm. Great work to build up CM Punk as a smart person who covered his ass essentially, but also to put Sami Zayn as this competitor who was fighting through an injury. Did good things for both superstars working that arm injury. Punk locked in the Anaconda Vice, which we haven't seen for a while, which had some really good dramatic moments with Zayn eventually getting to the ropes to break up the hold. There was a moment where Punk was walking away from Sami Zayn. He did his patented knee, this classic vintage Punk, as Michael Cole would say, knee to the corner twice. He ran back into the other corner. Sami Zayn tried to follow him with that following haluva kick that he does, which is 99% effective officially, as CM Punk dodged that haluva kick, which I thought was really innovative. I thought Sami had Punk for sure out to rights with that. Punk did eventually win with the GTS, and they shook hands after the match. But after Punk left, Kevin Owens, who had just been put through a car wreck of a match 2 days ago with Cody Rhodes, comes out and attacks Sami Zayn, setting up for what I will believe to be the WrestleMania match that we want, which is Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, which we haven't seen in some years now, which is always great. And this time, I feel like there's some real venom behind it, and I'm looking forward to it. But that's how Raw closed, with Kevin Owens attacking Sami Zayn. My overall grade for this Raw is probably a 5 out of 5, if not a 4.5 out of 5, with maybe some slight criticisms on Netflix's part. It's a real shame that they shit the bed for this Raw, as I believe this is the best Raw I have reviewed and the best Raw since January 13th. So it's been the best Raw out of the last few. And Netflix did botch it up by messing up their stream. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you thought of last night's Raw and the Royal Rumble while you're at it in the comments below. I decided to move down here as I believe it's a little bit more natural of an environment. This is my space, and now I can smoke. If you guys are wondering, I'm smoking a Mayflower Dawn cigar. Not anything illegal or promiscuous right now, at least. But I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.